back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys! So I am here today to do a wrap up of everything I read in the month of September. Slightly late because this past week has been pretty busy for me, but here is everything I got to in the month of September. So let's go through it from lowest rated up to the highest rated. A lot of these were SBFBO books, some of them I've already wrapped up in there, so I won't talk an awful lot about them, and some of the others I will be wrapping up very soon in another video, so keep your eyes peeled for that. A lot of the rest of them I have already done reviews for, or they will be coming very, very soon if they're not already up, so let me know in the comments which of these sounds the most interesting to you, and let's get started. First book, DNF'd. Didn't like this one very much, and that was Dani. This is one of the SBFBO ones. It was bad. I didn't enjoy it. I've done an entire review about it all. Yeah, it really was not for me. The next one is also one that I DNF'd, and that is this one, Turn of Mind by Alice LaPlante. This one is one of the Welcome Book Prize books that was shortlisted, and I was reading this because Eleanor and I are doing a project where we read the books together. This one just really didn't do it for me. It was pretty boring, and so unfortunately I DNF'd this. I think probably at most it would have got 2 stars from me. I know Eleanor enjoyed it a bit more, and we will be doing a live show to discuss this and the other book that we read this month, which was Emperor of All Maladies. So if you want to know my sort of full spoilery thoughts, then there will be a live show where we discuss all that. The next one I read I also DNF'd. There is a real theme of DNFing here. I just decided that this month I didn't have time to read books I wasn't enjoying, so I ended up DNFing a lot of them. Dragon's Treasure by Maya Starling. This one again really wasn't my thing. If you want to know more, watch the SBFBO video where I talk about it because I wrapped it up there, but this was not at all what I expected it to be in any shape or form. So yeah. I also DNF'd Audrey of Farmerton. This one was pretty simplistic. It felt quite aimed at young readers, and that's why I didn't finish this one. It just didn't really captivate me. It felt very samey. It wasn't terrible, but it definitely wasn't my kind of thing, so I would have probably only given it maybe 2 stars, and I DNF'd it. Another one that I DNF'd, but one that I liked a lot more, is Heir to the Sundered Crown. This one was a fairly classic fantasy in style. It takes a lot of the tropes from classic fantasy and draws on them, which if you like classic fantasy is great. If you don't love it so much like me and you kind of want something a little bit more interesting to hook you into the story, then this one didn't quite have that yet. I'll talk more about this in my upcoming wrap-up because I have one more to read before I can wrap up this batch, but I DNF'd it and I would have probably given it maybe a 2.5 had I finished it. I don't know because I didn't. Another one along the same theme that would have also got around 2.5 had I finished it, but I didn't, is A Mortal Song. This is another SBFBO one. It's in my 3rd wrap-up that I talk about this one. Again, it was okay, it was likeable, it had some interesting elements, but nothing stood out enough to hook me into the story, so I DNF'd that one. I probably would have given it a 2.5. Another one that I read and have not yet wrapped up because it will be in my 4th wrap-up is The Eighth God. This one is SBFBO 2, and I probably would give this a borderline 2.753. It's very close to a 3 stars. It's interesting, it talks about orcs a lot. I'll talk more about this in my wrap-up, but it didn't quite do it for me, and there were issues with this story as well, so it was borderline, that one. Next I talked about The Language of Thorns. I've done a review of this alongside one of the other novellas I read this month, and this was a collection of short stories. It's definitely an interesting twist on sort of fairy tale and folktale. I gave it 3 stars overall. Another one that got 3 stars from me was another of the Welcome Book Prize books, and that was Emperor of All Maladies. Again, I will be discussing this in a lot more detail in the live show that Eleanor and I are going to do. I gave this 3 stars. It's a huge book. It took me quite a while to get through. I did audiobook most of it because that was the easiest way to kind of consume such a large thing, but it was only a 3 stars in the end. It was likeable, it was interesting, but it was also quite a mixed bag. Moving on to all the good things, which I'm happy to say, although there were a lot of duds in this month, there were also a lot of really good ones. So let's go on to those. The first of the really good ones is this one, An Echo of Things to Come by James Islington. I have already read and reviewed the first one, and now the second as well, because I did a joint review of this, Strange the Dreamer and The Lie Tree. If you want to see that, I'll link it below. And I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. It was a solid continuation continuation. It wasn't quite as good as the first one because I feel like it does slightly suffer from being a middle book, but it was really, really strong overall, and I'm super duper excited for the third one to find out how everything ends. It's very dramatic. If you like Robert Jordan, Brandon Sanderson, those sorts of authors, I really think you're going to like this as well, and I would recommend this series definitely. 4 stars for that one. Also getting 4 stars from me was this little translated collection, which is a collection of Tang Fei's SF. I really enjoyed this. I've got a review talking about this coming very soon, so I won't go into too much detail because I've already filmed that. I need to just edit it. But yeah, this was a real interesting collection. Definitely an author I would like to follow more, so maybe one to look out for, Tang Fei. I gave it a 4 stars. Next up, I read my first Claire North book, and this is called Touch. I definitely enjoyed this. It was such an interesting concept about a character who can move between bodies via touching, and has lived for many, many hundreds of years, and very, very cool concept. I will be reviewing this very soon. In fact, again, it's another one I have filmed but not edited yet. Definitely excited by reading more of Claire North's work because I've read 2 of her books now, and this one was the first. The second one I read this month, so it won't be in this wrap up. But I really enjoy her stuff, and I gave this a 4 stars overall. Another one of the SBFBO books which actually got 4 stars from me is Naomi Grimm. This is a really interesting twist on sort of urban fantasy meeting paranormal meeting Grim Reapers, and I really like the concept of Grim Reapers in a modern day setting, and the concepts in this book were really, really well done. It was a fast-paced, edgy, catchy story, and I really, really liked it, so I would highly recommend checking this one out. And if you want to know more, check out my review in the 3rd wrap-up of the SBFBO titles, because that's where I talk about this one. One that got 4 stars from me is The Lie Tree by Frances Hardinge. This book is the illustrated edition. If you've not already seen, I actually did a video on Macmillan's channel, which is Book Break. I'll put a link to it below, where I spoke about some beginner fantasy books. If you've never really tried fantasy or you're fairly new to the genre, I recommended lots of different books that you can use to get into fantasy, and this was one of them. I read this and I really, really enjoyed it. It's a 4-star read for me. The illustrations in this are beautiful, and Chris Riddell is a very talented illustrator, so I really enjoy anything that he works on, and him combined with Frances Hardinge worked very, very well. It was an excellent, fun story, and I have done a full review talking about this, and also done a video on Book Break's channel in which I recommend this, so do check out both of those. I will link them below. Another one that I thoroughly enjoyed is Age of Assassins by RJ Barker. I finally got around to reading this month. I met RJ a couple of times at different events I've been to, and he is fantastic as a person in real life, so I was really hoping I liked his book, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was absolutely superb. I will be doing a full review on this one very soon, so look out for that. But yeah, it was just so fun, and I love a good fun fantasy. I think if you like things like Michael J. Sullivan and Scott Lynch, you'll probably really enjoy this story as well. It was fast-paced, it was fun, it was definitely my kind of thing, and it's about an assassin character, so it kind of even gave me a little bit of a vibe of Robin Hobb's Fitz, which is always a plus. 4.5 stars for that one. Next, I gave this one, which is a collection of 2 stories translated from Chinese, The Khazar Key and Teartide, a 4.5 stars as well. And again, this will be in my translated Chinese video, which I've filmed but not edited yet. It's really, really interesting, the concepts in this book. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a wonderful translation, done really, really well, and I gave this 4.5 stars. Another one that got 4.5 from me is the 3rd instalment in the Wayward Children series by Sean Ann Maguire. This is called Beneath the Sugar Sky. I love this series. It's so, so well done. This comes out in January, so it's a fair way off, but I think you should all add it to your to-buy lists and pre-order lists now because it was just superb. I really, 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 really recommend this series for diversity, for interesting concepts, for magic and mayhem and fun and adventure. It's got a bit of everything, and I really loved it. So if you want to know more, check out my review, which will be linked. But I really like this. Another book that thoroughly surprised me is this one, Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This was a book that I meant to get around to a while ago, didn't quite find the time, and eventually just picked up on audio and read it in physical, and I really, really enjoyed this. I was super surprised by how much I enjoyed it. My only niggle was the insta-love, but overall this is fantastic. Do watch my review if you want to know more about it. This is one of my top YAs of the year because I don't read that many YA, and I tend to find I have issues more often than not with YA, but this one was definitely up there with some of my favourites, so I would highly, highly recommend this, and I'm very excited for whenever the next one comes out. I'm looking forward to it immensely. Another one that got 4.5 stars from me is The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night by Jen. This I've done a review for, but it won't be up till the end of October because this comes out early November, so look out for my review on all the individual stories. I really enjoyed this. Jen is absolutely fantastic when she writes magical realism. I just love the way that she writes. It's so, so original. Every story felt unique and interesting. Cannot wait to read more from her in the future, but in the meantime I would thoroughly recommend that you all pre-order this. I definitely think it's worth reading, and I cannot wait for more of you to get your hands on it in early November, but my review will be going up just before then. And finally, my favourite book of the month, and the one that got 5 stars. This book is called Devil's Night Dawning. It's by Damian Black. It is a 5-star read from me. The second one just came out, so it's definitely time to get on board with this series. I am so excited about reading the second. I have it waiting for me to read. This book was just really, really good. I've done an entire review talking about this, so I will link that if you want to find out more. It was the only 5-star book this month. It was an SBFBO one. It was very, very, very good, and I would thoroughly recommend that you guys go and check it out. So please do watch my review and go buy the book. It's super cheap on Kindle, so I mean, come on guys, buy it. It's great. It's really great. I would recommend this thoroughly. I gave it 5 stars in the end. Those are all of the books I read in September. I'm actually really happy with the month I had. Even though I had quite a lot of dud books, I also had a lot of very good books. So it was quite a mixture, and I really enjoyed that. I was very happy not to have too many middle of the road books. I feel like middle ground books are some of the worst because you want to love them more than you do, and you don't. Anyway, do let me know in the comments which books you have read of the ones I've mentioned, or if you're going to be picking any of them up yourself, and tell me what your top book of the month was as well. I'd love to hear in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.